Hey guys, David Jelks here from the I Am Project. You know, in the past 23 years, since I left my old lifestyle in food and beverage and the nightclub industry, and I embarked upon this health and wellness journey, I've been so blessed to have stumbled across so many amazing new concepts and truths. And of course, I only stumbled across them because I was looking for them. I have an extensive library from all my paperback books and, of course, my audio-visual library. And I'm just fascinated. I've really been a lifelong learner, well for the last 23 years. And I've been fascinated by what makes the human body work. Why are some people more successful than others? Can we actually change our mindsets that rapidly, where we can go from a very limiting mindset where our previous life really didn't offer us a lot of encouragement and confidence to move forward? Then how do we overwrite those patterns of behavior? And why is it that we can be so successful in some parts of our life and then completely derail in other parts? I mean, would you not think that if we could be successful over here and actually develop the skill, the tenacity, the stick-to-itiveness to get this thing done, to make this work, we can just take that behavior everywhere? You would think so. Several years back, I had the opportunity to present in Las Vegas at Amplified Master Trainers program, and part of my lecture, my speech or talk for the day was about knowing better but not doing better. And what I've come to realize that as with our physiology, so with our psychology. And with our physiology, when I got into the training industry, I got more into the rehab part of it because I was kind of fascinated by how do I repair that hip, and how do I stabilize that hip, and how do I stabilize that shoulder with somebody who wants to get back in shape. And what we realized that once we had an injury somewhere in the body, of course, the injury wasn't always just localized to the area. So if I hurt my shoulder, I had a neurological reference. I had a memory. I had an idea that was formulated at the time of that shoulder injury. So even though the shoulder seems to work okay now, but if I had pain or experienced pain reaching that arm overhead, then even though when the injury is gone and the shoulder has full mobility, I'm still a little bit hesitant to do anything overhead because I have the memory of that discomfort. And until I actually get rid of the apprehension here, the messaging to the shoulder won't be efficient, and I'm more likely to injure it again. So I became very fascinated by that part, and then of course I saw a direct correlation from our physical injuries to our mental emotional injuries. And I noticed that I couldn't move forward in certain parts of my life because of an injury I had sustained, mental and or emotional, at a certain part of my life that really created apprehension going forward. And until I could go back and actually rewire that injury, that mental emotional injury, and kind of reset it, update it, clean it up somehow, that I couldn't move forward in certain parts of my life because the apprehension and the fear would always set in. And of course, it would take me out of the knees. Now, you may experience that in different parts of your life. So being very hyper aware of that similarity between our physiology and our psychology, I kind of wondered, would the mind, the incredible mind that designed all this stuff, and I'm more of a creationist. I believe that we were created from something because we're just too extraordinary just to have happened. I believe, just my belief only, but wouldn't it make sense that how we treat the body is the same way how we treat the mind? Wouldn't the same rules apply? So, for example, when I'm working with a client, in order to make my client successful with their physicality, with their physical strength, first I need to develop great posture, right? So I develop good core strength, right? So in the inside part of the pelvis, we develop good core strength, good buttock strength, good posture, so that anything I do to the body is going to be put on this great neutral, stable frame. Well, wouldn't the same apply to our psychology? If I want to go into a part of my life where I'm not strong, where I'm kind of weak, would I want to go on there with all my weaknesses and apprehensions and see if I can blunder my way through it? Or would it make more sense before I even attempt to go forward, I decide on the mental framework, on the character, on the strengths and values that either I have but don't bring forth on a daily basis, or ones that I need to develop, and I start working and develop the concept of what it means to be courageous or fearless or virtuous, or whatever the character strength that you may need to develop to move forward in that part of your life. Maybe it's just self-love and understanding what that concept is. So before you go fight the battles out here, before you go try to go into the areas where you're emotionally weak and kind of broken down, sometimes I think it would make sense to start here first and decide what character, what virtue do I need to bring forth out of me. And I believe we all have them inside of us. They just haven't been explored perhaps to the depth that they should be. And if I brought that virtue and that character forth, then I decided to step into that challenging part of my psychology. Would I not be more powerful? And if I did that every single time, would I not have a greater core sense of being? Right? Because every time we train somebody in exercise, we always get them to go through a sequence of stabilizing the body, getting the body ready, and it's a thought process before it becomes a mechanical process. We think about stability and what does that mean. And then we decide, okay, now we're stable. We got these stabilizing muscles working. Now we're going to go into the activity. And then we understand very specifically what is the activity that we're after, what is the target, what is the goal. And then, of course, what the actual action or the movement that occurs becomes a side effect. So first, it's always about stabilizing the body, right? Getting the stabilizers working so the body is neutral and powerful. And then we decide on the actions from that point only. So when it comes to our mental landscape, it's always the same thing, right? Because it's the same body. Why would it be so different? We stabilize ourselves mentally and emotionally with a character strength that's a part of our core. It's our core identity, right? Our mental, emotional philosophy, our core identity. And then from that vantage point only do we move into the things that are more challenging. And what I witnessed is that how powerful we all of a sudden become, because the strength has always been in us. We just didn't know how to take it from over here and move it back into the core where it belonged. And we kept on the outskirts of our psychology. So over the next little while, of course, I'm going to be exploring this concept with you a little bit more. And if you're really curious and you just want to jump into the conversation, on September 12th, of course, that's next Wednesday at 7 p.m., we're running the first part of an 8-week series on the I Am Project. And it's the actual hands-on lesson of how to go through this process and how to incredibly build that powerful core identity so the rest of your life kind of pulls into harmony with who you truly are. So thanks for taking the time out of your busy life, and of course I look forward to our next communication.